Hello, my name is Jeff Rolka, and you can learn more about me at voicelessonssf.com. This is a three-part video series on the tenor range of the male voice and singing above that break or transition point register event in the male voice and learning to smooth out the transition up and down as you go in and out of that upper register. So I've broken this down into three parts, thinking that it would be easier to practice the different sections depending on where you are in your own vocal development. I've broken this down into three parts. First, awareness and access. We're going to become aware of what our voice does and how we get up there. Part two is about practice and preparation, knowing where that transition happens, practicing it effectively, and then being able to go in and out of it as effectively as we can. Finally, part three is integration. How do we integrate this into the music that we choose to sing? So hopefully you'll be able to use those parts to work through your breaks. So without any further ado, we're going to get started with part one, awareness and access of the upper register of the male voice. Step one in learning to sing in the upper register of the male voice is to get an understanding of the differences between the way that we can use our voice there. And I'm going to look at three main ones, and then we're going to focus on the one that we're trying to learn to do in the context of this video. So, one way that we hear all the time is where there's a lot of vocal fold engagement, a lot of tension in the voice, and consequently the ligament on the outer area of the vocal fold vibrates more so than the vocal fold itself. And this is what we commonly think of as falsetto. It sounds wispy and airy, and it doesn't, it doesn't connect to the chest voice. In other words, it doesn't sound quite the same. It sounds like this. If I show you here. It also uses a lot of air. And so it doesn't sound the same. And commonly we think of that as falsetto. Another way that we can try to use our voices, which generally results in vocal fatigue and not great intonation, is to try to squeeze the chest voice, to try to pull that chest voice higher. And that sounds like this. And it sounds a bit strained because it is. I'm forcing the thyroarytenoid muscle to not release to the cricoarytenoid muscles. The chest voice muscle, thyroarytenoid, I'm preventing it from transitioning. And it's vibrating more quickly than what it's really comfortable doing. And then there's a third way, where we're allowing the voice to go through this transition, where the cricoarytenoid muscles, posterior and anterior, are going to take more control of the vocal fold, and that thyroarytenoid muscle is going to allow them to lengthen it somewhat, enabling the vocal fold to vibrate more quickly, getting us into our upper register, getting us those high notes that sound as if we've pulled our chest voice from the bottom of our range all the way through to the top. And this transition is what generates that, I hesitate to call it an illusion, of pulling chest. But that's what we're doing. We're doing this transition. It's just that the transition has been smoothed and it sounds very seamless. I'm making a transition from my thyroarytenoid to my cricoarytenoid and back. And that way we get this full range voice that matches from the very bottom of my range all the way into the very top of it. And this practice begins with being aware of how it feels and being able to access it reliably, alright, and consistently. So we're going to do that. We start off with just a nice full range hoot. Ooh! Those sirens, ooh, start up above the register event, above the break, and then come down. When you first start this, it can be kind of clunky. Ooh! And it kind of slams into the chest voice. That's coordination, and that will get better as you practice more and more. You notice me using my arm. Things like that can be very helpful. Outer gestures and things like that can help our minds to grasp what we're trying to do. So try it. Ooh! Ooh! And if you find yourself sounding wispy, ooh! See if you can let it be a little lighter. Think behind the eyes or out the top of the head. Ooh! Also keeping in mind that this isn't a finished sound yet. We're just learning to get some access. Once you've got that, we can start doing some wide intervals that start above that register event and then help us practice transitioning down so we can begin to refine this technique. So, for most male vocalists, this is going to occur somewhere between E natural and F sharp, just ballparking, right, for the tenor voice. We're actually going to start above that point and work our way down. So I'm going to start in the key of A, where the first pitch is above the register event, and then the triad is mostly below. That fifth of the triad might be borderline for some of you. And so we sing it on just a nice U sound. U, 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 trying to ensure that that top note is above the register event and the bottom three are below. U, 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 U. U, 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 U. And we're going to stop there, because then we start getting into that place where we're in the so-called passaggio, or mixed range. And we're going to avoid that for the moment. More about that in video 2. So let's practice that again. This time, why don't you try no. No, 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 no. And if that's going well, you could try we. We, 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 we. And again, stopping there in key of F sharp major. As that gets better, you can add the ascending versions of those triads. So you can then sing you, 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 you. Again, only that top note is above the register event. Sing it, and you can do it with no as well. No, 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 no. Again, making sure the triad on the bottom is below the register event and only the top note is above. And finally, you could do it with we. We, 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 we. And as that gets better and better, and you feel more comfortable with it, we can narrow the range, making it a little bit more challenging. So in our case here, we're going to start on D major. In this example, working down again, the top two notes, briefly here, will be above the register event, and then we'll move into an area where the top note's above, the third of the triad, or the middle note, is going to be in the passaggio, and only the bottom note will be in your chest range. And then eventually we'll get to the point where that top note is the only one that's above your register event, and the bottom two are still are in your chest range. So for the moment now, you, above the break, above passaggio maybe, chest, you, and now most of you here are definitely in the passaggio and that middle note. The top one's still probably above, and now the bottom two are probably below. Let's do that again. And now make it no. No, no, no. And finally we. And when that starts to get reliable and comfortable, we can start ascending triads as well. So we can do it up and down. In this case, you, and then no, 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 no. And then finally we. And once we've got those going a little bit, we can start looking at doing more sustained exercises where we're keeping the airflow constant. And for starters, the lip trill is great for this. And so we go back effectively to those full octave arpeggios and sing them descending. You know, in my practice, in my teaching, sometimes these exercises help more initially than the ones that we've just gone through. If you're finding that it's challenging, you're having issues, you might swap them around and try these lip trill exercises first and then go back. I know it makes things in the video a little bit out of order, but we're all different. We all have different challenges with our voices. So for some of us, the short exercises will work better initially. For others, these will work better initially. And let's do that again, just for practice. And now we can do it ascending if it's going well. And then we can do them with the arpeggios that are a little bit narrower in range. Let's do that one more time. And as that becomes more comfortable, you can do it ascending and descending. us to the end of part 1 of these videos on singing above the register event for the male voice. If any of this is just really too challenging, it's always a good idea to find a great teacher in your area, or just find someone that can listen to your voice, record yourself, and listen back to it, and see if you can diagnose and hear what's going on. Equally, I'm always happy to take comments and questions. Feel free to contact me via my website or message me via YouTube, and I'll see if I can help you. So thanks. If this was going well or too easy for you, check out part 2, which is more about practicing this transition and working through the passaggio. Thanks again. My name's Jeff Rolka. Take care of your voices and enjoy singing. Bye.